Okay, so ready to dive into something that might help us all stress a little less.
Always.
Let's talk ashwagandha
Okay.
and anxiety relief. You ever feel like the weight of the world is like just on your shoulders?
Yeah.
Some research is suggesting that this herb, it's an ancient herb, sometimes it's called Indian ginseng.
Yeah.
It might be able to like lighten that load. And what's really interesting is we're not just like looking at one study here, one little study.
Yeah.
We're going deep into a meta-analysis, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Which is like, it's like a super study that kind of combines a bunch of research results together.
Yeah. So this one, it was published in Phytotherapy Research back in November of 2022, and it looked at 12 randomized controlled trials.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, those are, considered the gold standard as far as research goes.
Yeah.
And this one had over 1,000 participants
Oh, wow.
between the ages of 25 and 48.
Okay, so good sample size.
Mhm.
So it sounds like, they did their due diligence with this. What did they find out? What were the results? How did ashwagandha impact anxiety and stress?
Well, the results are pretty promising. People who took ashwagandha supplements actually had a statistically significant reduction in both anxiety and stress levels compared to those who took a placebo.
Okay.
In fact, the effect on stress was particularly strong.
Okay, so not just a placebo effect. It was like actually measurable results. That's exciting. But, there are always, I guess, caveats when it comes to research. What are some things that we need to keep in mind when looking at these findings?
Well, yeah, you're right to be a little cautious.
Yeah.
The researchers themselves acknowledge that the certainty of the evidence is rated as low.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this isn't necessarily a reason to just dismiss the findings,
Yeah.
but it does highlight the need for further research.
Yeah.
Especially large, well-designed trials that can kind of, confirm these results.
Right. Yeah, because science is an ongoing process and you have to build upon what you've learned.
Yeah.
But I mean, a reduction in stress and anxiety, especially with such a solid sample size, is definitely something worth looking into more, I would say.
Absolutely. And here's where it gets even more interesting.
Yeah.
This meta-analysis went beyond just looking at whether ashwagandha worked or not. They also did what's called a nonlinear dose-response analysis.
Okay.
So basically, they wanted to see how the effects of ashwagandha changed based on how much people were taking.
So like finding that sweet spot, finding the dosage.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So were they able to pinpoint, an amount, like how much ashwagandha you actually need to take to get those benefits?
Well, for anxiety, the benefits seem to increase all the way up to a dose of 12,000 milligrams a day.
Wow, that's a lot.
Which is, that's a lot. That's not what you typically see.
Right.
So more research is needed to figure out, what's that optimal dose and to make sure that taking that much is actually safe long term.
Yeah. So maybe skip the mega doses for now. What about stress? Did they find anything for that for dosage?
For stress reduction, the sweet spot seemed to be somewhere between 300 and 600 milligrams a day.
Okay.
And this is more in line with what you commonly find available.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you're just feeling stressed out, this research, I think, is a little bit hopeful.
Yeah.
It's like there's something out there. Ashwagandha could be a tool. But of course, like with a big, asterisk, like talk to your doctor.
Absolutely. Talk to your doctor before starting any new supplement, especially if you have any conditions or you're taking medications.
Yeah.
They can help you figure out, if it's right for you and what dosage is appropriate.
Solid advice. And just to be transparent with our listeners, we haven't reviewed every single study that was included in this meta-analysis ourselves, but we're focusing on the big picture and the overall findings. And I think based on what we've seen, it's something worth, investigating. What do you think?
Absolutely. And while this gives us a lot to consider, it's important to remember that any research study has its limitations.
Of course.
It's all part of the process.
Yeah.
And that's why we encourage critical thinking and healthy skepticism.
So let's connect this to our listeners, right? If you're dealing with stress and anxiety, and I think it's safe to say, in this day and age, who isn't?
Yeah.
This research could be a little hopeful.
It is. It is. But again, it's important to remember that even with these findings, there can be limitations.
Yeah.
Keep learning.
Yeah.
Talk to your doctor.
Yeah.
About what might be right for you.
Yeah. What stands out to you about these findings?
Well, the dose that seems to work best for stress, it's within what's, commonly available.
Yeah.
So that could make it easier for people to try it, after they talk to their doctor, of course.
That is a great point.
Yeah.
So before we jump into kind of the implications of all of this, let's just take a minute, like a pause, and just recap what we've learned.
We've learned that this meta-analysis of 12 studies suggests that ashwagandha could be helpful in reducing both stress and anxiety.
Yeah. And while the research is still kind of in its early stages, more studies are needed, the results are really promising.
Yeah. We've also learned that there seem to be different optimal dosages for stress versus anxiety.
Yes. And, I can't say this enough. It's really important to talk to your doctor before trying ashwagandha or any other supplement.
Yeah.
All right, let's shift gears a little bit. What are the bigger implications here? Like, if ashwagandha is proven to be effective in managing anxiety and stress, what could that mean?
Well, that could mean a shift
Yeah.
from being reactive
Yeah.
to being more proactive.
So instead of just dealing with stress and anxiety when it comes up, we could maybe use ashwagandha to help prevent it.
Exactly. Exactly. Of course, this is all speculative.
Yeah.
We need more research, but it is a very intriguing possibility. Imagine, a natural supplement that's available, it's potentially affordable, that could help people build resilience to stress, to the stress of life.
It's like giving people an extra layer of armor against the anxiety of the world.
Yeah, in a way, yeah. But it's not about, masking or ignoring those anxieties. It's about giving people the tools to deal with it.
And how could that change the way we look at well-being as a society?
I think that's a great question.
Yeah.
If ashwagandha does gain wider acceptance as a way to manage stress and anxiety, it could lead to some very interesting shifts. We might see more emphasis on preventative mental health care.
Okay.
So people are encouraged to proactively manage their stress levels rather than waiting till, they're at a breaking point.
That would be amazing. It could really change the conversation around mental health.
Yeah.
It would make it more normal, our part of everyday life.
Absolutely. And it could also change our perspective, our cultural perspectives on stress and well-being.
Yeah.
Instead of seeing stress as something we just have to endure, we might start to see it as something we can manage, even prevent.
Okay. So what are some of the key questions that still need to be answered about ashwagandha?
Well, we need more large-scale, long-term studies
Yeah.
to really confirm these findings and solidify our understanding.
Right.
We also need more research on optimal dosing.
Yeah.
Is 300, 600 milligrams a day really the best for stress reduction? What about anxiety? How does that vary depending on the person, their age, weight, their overall health?
So many questions.
Yeah.
But, it's exciting to think about the possibility.
It is. It really is. That's what makes this so fascinating. We're
Mm.
always learning new things.
Yeah.
Expanding our understanding of our minds, our bodies, and the natural world.
And who knows, maybe one day we'll look back and be like, wow, that was a turning point
Yeah.
in how we manage anxiety and stress.
That would be quite the legacy for this ancient herb.
Yeah, for sure. But for now, we just got to keep, stay critical. Stay tuned for more research.
Absolutely. Informed decision-making.
Yeah.
That's what we're all about.
So if you're feeling, interested in learning more about ashwagandha, we definitely encourage you to do your own research. Knowledge is power,
Absolutely.
especially when it comes to our well-being.
Yeah.
But, as always, big disclaimer, got to talk to your doctor
Don't forget to talk to your doctor.
before making any changes.
Right.
They're your best guide.
Yeah.
And on that note, we'll leave you with a final thought to ponder. If ashwagandha does become a more widely accepted tool for managing anxiety and stress, what ripple effects might that have on society? Could it lead to, more of an emphasis on preventative mental health care?
Yeah.
Could it change our cultural perspective on stress and well-being?
That's great thought.
Yeah, these are just some things we hope you'll consider as you learn more about ashwagandha and its potential.
Until next time, stay well, keep diving deep.
Yeah, and remember, there's a whole world of knowledge out there just waiting to be discovered, one deep dive at a time. It really is amazing to think about something like ashwagandha that's been used for centuries in traditional medicine, and it's now kind of entering the mainstream conversations around mental health.
Yeah, it really speaks to the shift we're seeing to a more holistic and integrative approach to well-being.
It seems like people are looking beyond just pharmaceuticals to other options.
Right, and it's not about rejecting conventional medicine. It's more about just recognizing that there are multiple paths to well-being, to healing.
Yeah, expanding the toolkit.
Yeah.
And recognizing that different things work for different people. And sometimes it's about integrating a lot of things together.
Absolutely.
It's like we're rediscovering the power of nature to support our minds and our emotions, which is really, really cool. But, with that comes some some things to think about. Like, as the demand for ashwagandha grows,
Yeah.
we need to make sure that, like, it's sourced sustainably, harvested ethically.
That's a really important point.
Right. We don't want to create new problems
Right.
while we're trying to solve, like, the problems we have now.
Right, right. It's about balance.
Yeah.
Respecting tradition
Yeah.
while using modern science,
Yeah.
to ensure a healthy future for both people and the planet.
Well said. Well said. This has been a really interesting deep dive into the world of ashwagandha and its potential for managing anxiety and stress. We've talked about a lot.
Yeah.
We talked about, the meta-analysis and the findings and being critical and, personalized approaches and sustainability.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure exploring this with you. I hope our listeners are feeling kind of empowered
Yeah.
to learn more about this.
Yeah, knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
The more we understand, the better we can be, and the more we're equipped to, navigate all the complexities.
Stay curious.
Yeah.
Remember, well-being is a journey. Yeah.
Not a destination.
Wow, it's really been quite a journey.
It has.
Exploring ashwagandha.
Yeah.
We went from like ancient traditions to modern research.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating to think about this herb and, what it could potentially do for stress and anxiety.
What's really interesting to me is like thinking about the impact that this could have if ashwagandha does become more, widely accepted. What if it was like as common as taking your daily multivitamin?
Yeah, that's a really interesting thought. What kind of like ripple effects do you think that would have on society as a whole?
I think, for one, it could really lead to like a much bigger emphasis on preventative mental health care.
Okay.
We tend to wait until we're feeling really overwhelmed, like really stressed, before we actually seek help.
Yeah.
What if we thought about stress management, like in the same way we think about brushing our teeth or exercising?
I love that analogy. It makes it seem so much more approachable, Exactly. And if ashwagandha is proven to be a safe and effective way to do that, it could really change how we think about mental health overall. It wouldn't just be something that we deal with when there's a problem. It would be part of, our regular well-being routine.
So it's not just treating the symptoms.
Right.
It's about building resilience
Exactly.
and creating a culture where we prioritize our mental well-being.
Exactly. Yeah. And that could have, huge implications for society. Imagine, people being more resilient, more equipped to handle stress, more open to talking about mental health.
It's a beautiful vision. But of course, like we have to remember there's still a lot that we don't know about ashwagandha, especially its long-term effects.
Right. The research is promising, but we need more.
As we keep learning, we got to approach this with curiosity, but also like a healthy amount of skepticism.
Absolutely.
So to wrap things up, what would you say is like the one key takeaway you want our listeners to leave with?
I think the biggest takeaway is that there's hope. There are tools out there, some old, some new, that can help us with the challenges of life, help us feel better.
Nicely said. And remember, this is really just the beginning of your deep dive into the world of ashwagandha. So keep learning, keep exploring, and most importantly, keep taking care of yourself.
Until next time, stay curious and keep diving deep.
We'll see you on our next deep dive.